Time now for the Twins Wrap, again brought to you by Jefferson Lines, your number one bus experience for over 100 years, serving North Dakota and cities throughout the Midwest. I have a hijacked Tyler Axis' show afternoons live because of the early Tuesday start. 5 o'clock's the pregame show here on KFGO. And I got to say, Dick, I must be getting older because I love these school night starts.
Well, I'm older than you are, so I guess that means I enjoy them even more. I do think it's taken a bit of an adjustment for fans, but you know, you can understand the logic behind it on school nights and all that, getting the game started a half hour earlier. They're doing it here in Detroit. We've done it in Minnesota. And I think generally the fan reaction has been pretty positive.
Yeah, I would think with the kids, too, because I remember being a kid and not being able to stay up that late. Mom would make me go to bed. It's got to help a little bit. If they can get games over at 9:30 instead of 10:30, 11, it's certainly for the fan perspective, that's nice.
Well, unfortunately, the games are really long, longer certainly than they used to be. And so, yeah, once fans can get adjusted to it, I would not be surprised to see this early start time be extended into the summer months as well, because I think fans, whether they're at the ballpark, watching on TV, or listening on the radio, they rather would have the games end around 10 o'clock rather than 10:30.
Magic number is 3, Dick. I mean, and Cleveland doesn't want to lose baseball games. Maybe the Twins will have to do it on their own, but that's certainly doable with 6 games left.
Well, yeah, and you touched on what I think is one of the most impressive things about this Twins season, and particularly the month of September. The Indians have not gone away. They've continued to win ball games, and they've beaten everybody except the Twins in that key series in Cleveland. And so this isn't a case where, well, the magic number is going to go down, by 2 tonight because the Indians have fallen apart. They've had to deal with injuries like the Twins have, but they've kept the pressure on within the division. They've still got the wild card race that they're heavily involved in. But I think in a way it speaks to the greatness of this Twins team, that they've continued to play well, even though they've had a team breathing down their necks or trying to breathe down their necks all throughout the second half.
Dick, Tyler Axis, your first welcome to Afternoons Live, and thanks for being flexible with us as you mentioned this schedule shifting, going up earlier, myself included. No complaints here. I do enjoy that earlier start, earlier end as well. But Dick, as we're wrapping up the regular season here, we're looking at the potential playoff run. When we're looking at pitching, do you have any idea maybe who the third starter in the playoffs might be?
I think it will be a man who currently is in the bullpen. Who that is, I have no idea.
Professional answer.
Yeah, Martin Perez just hasn't pitched well, and you'd like to have pitchers pitching their best this time of year, and that certainly has not been the case for Perez. So, and Kyle Gibson hasn't pitched well for any number of reasons. So, what I would anticipate, and this is not. Believe it or not, they don't ask me and they don't tell me what their plans are. Can you imagine that? But I would imagine in whatever order they choose, the starters will be Barrios and Odorizzi. And then given the effectiveness the Twins have had with the bullpen games, I would expect the other game or games to be bullpen games. It works. It's worked for the Twins. When teams have done it to the Twins, it works. So I would imagine that maybe even in game 1, the Twins would go with a bullpen game and try to, in an unexpected way, set the tone for the series, whether it be against the Yankees or the Astros.
Boy, that's easier to do a bullpen game, though, when you have 35 men on the roster, not a playoff roster. I mean, that's the only...
Yeah, that's the issue is, in September it's easier to do it because you got 14, 15 guys out there. But what you would be looking for, I would imagine, is a Smeltzer type or a Dobnik type that you'd feel pretty comfortable running out there for maybe 3 innings or first time through the batting order and then switching it up after that. The format for the first round of the playoffs, not counting the wild card game, but the first round of the playoffs almost encourages a bullpen game like that because you play 2 games. Let's say the Twins have the Yankees in the first round, and the first 2 games would be, Friday and Saturday at Yankee Stadium, and then there's an off day. And then there would be potentially 2 games in Minnesota, then another off day before game 5. So there are off days built in, which again would encourage a team to, run a bullpen game in game 1 or 2, again in game 3 or 4. And then, if it went 5 games, the Twins could come back with Barrios say in Game 5 if they chose to do that.
Now, let's just face it. I guess if this team is going to go deep into the playoffs, they're going to have to just smash the ball. We might have more. I joked that Sunday's 12-8 game was like a high school football score with a 2-point conversion by the losing team, but that's probably how they're going to have to win, right?
Well, I don't know that, given what we've seen, as good as they've been, whether they're going to suddenly outpitch people, whether it be the Yankees or the Astros. The Yankees, of course, have some pitching issues of their own. But, you'd like to think that this team that's, hit roughly 2 home runs a game can do that. And ultimately it will come down to getting some big outs late in the ball game. And we'll see if, Rogers and Littell, that's been the big bright spot, I think, in September, beyond the Nelson Cruz and Miguel Sano home runs and all of that. The fact that this bullpen suddenly is one of the league's best.
Mm-hmm. Dick, I have a question. You mentioned injuries when we're talking about Cleveland. Obviously, the Twins having some of those issues of our own here towards late. Do you have any updates? Yeah, I mean, Kepler, Adrianza, both sustaining injuries. Do you have any updates for us there?
I would imagine Kepler will get some playing time on this road trip, maybe even in Detroit here. I think everyone's encouraged that he's going to be fine. The Twins have the luxury of having a bit of a lead in the division and a small magic number, so they can kind of pick and choose where they want to play him just to get him some at-bats to prepare him for what we hope will be a long October run. Adrianza's got an oblique strain. They'll be very careful with him, but at some point I would expect to see him play as well, just because the Twins need to know whether he's healthy enough to be added to the postseason roster.
Yeah, and that is, I think Kepler's key, isn't he? I mean, just when he's a leadoff guy and the way he's been able to play it, it's amazing they've been able to win games without him, but I think he's been one of those guys that we talked about as far as the top 5 performers of 2019.
Well, they've had to kind of, patch their way along here in September with Buxton being out, Kepler missing most of the month, and, every once in a while you'll see a Luis Arraez in the outfield, and when you get to this point of the season, and certainly next week, if the Twins are in the playoffs, you want to get to the point where your infielders are playing in the infield and your outfielders are in the outfield. So on many levels, the power, the production from the leadoff spot, but just as importantly, I think the outfield defense, they'll be really glad to have Kepler back in the lineup whenever that is.
Well, it's a fun week knowing that the Twins most likely are going to wrap things up, but it's bittersweet, too. The thing I hate about, Corey and Danny on the radio side, they get to go a little bit longer. It's kind of an abrupt end for you and all your co-workers there that have been doing color commentary for you.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some pre- and post-game work with the playoffs, so, we'll still be following the team. But, as I think you and I have discussed, Derek, 36 years of doing this, and the Twins have been in the playoffs a bunch of times over those years, and I've yet to do play-by-play of one postseason inning.
Man.
It's the fact of life for TV play-by-play guys. They kind of get kicked to the curb when the networks take over.
Well, it's certainly been a fun run. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you again next week and preview the games. And, boy, that's the other thing, too, is that when they wrap it up, they don't have a game again until Friday, October 4th. That's going to be a lot of withdrawal for me. Even last night I had some withdrawal, Dick.
Well, they've been so much fun to watch, and they tell us our TV ratings are through the roof, the best in baseball, which isn't a reflection at all on. I guess it is on the people who produce the games, but it's a reflection more of how this area has embraced this team. And why not? They've been fun to watch. They've got some interesting characters. They've had so many dramatic wins at home and on the road late in ball games. It's been a really good product to watch. And the hope from everybody involved with the Twins telecast is that the team can do in the postseason what they've done in the regular season, because it's really been a fun ride.
No question. Dick, thanks so much for your time as always. We'll talk to you again soon. Enjoy the rest of this week.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks, Dick.
Again, the Twins Wrap with Dick Bremer, brought to you by Jefferson Lines, your number one bus experience for over 100 years, serving North Dakota and cities throughout the Midwest. Next Tuesday will be our last regular season wrap-up one, and hopefully we'll get to keep on talking with Dick throughout the playoffs. Here on the Twins Wrap.